Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are taking a seriously fascinating journey. Have you ever wondered what happens when you take a simple, everyday concept like a boat and just multiply its budget by a billion? Well, we're going to dive into this escalating timeline of maritime engineering and sheer extreme wealth. We'll explore what exactly happens when a vessel jumps from a literal $1 liability all the way up to a billion-dollar floating city. It's an absolute study in scale, luxury, and honestly, some of the most mind-boggling engineering on the planet. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the sinking dollar boat. Then, millions for basic luxury, moving right along to helicopters and mega yachts. After that, the 300 million monster, and finally, the billion-dollar floating city. And these are our extreme endpoints for today's Explainer. On one hand, we have a vessel that is such a massive burden, it literally costs 18,000 times more per year to store it than to actually buy it. No joke. And on the other hand, a modern engineering marvel that completely redefines the very word boat, basically towering over the ocean like a mini metropolis. So keep these two wild extremes in your head as we start climbing this ladder. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the sinking dollar boat, a baseline of failure. This right here perfectly captures the immediate spectacular failure of bottom-tier ownership. I don't think the floor is supposed to do that. I mean, the source material highlights a boat that was sold for a single dollar. And you might be asking yourself, why on earth was it so cheap? Well, because it was racking up 18 grand a year in storage debt. The very second the new owner stepped on board and put in the water, the structural integrity just gave up. The floor completely gave out, and the boat began rapidly sinking right at the launch dock. They had to evacuate immediately. So yeah, $1 buys you exactly 0 seconds of safe sail. Moving up a bit to Section 2, millions for basic luxury. Comfort begins. Notice the rapid evolution of amenities over these next 3 massive price jumps. At $1 million, you've got practical soft seating and, hey, even European amenities like a bidet. But the real shift? That happens at 25 million. We go from a cramped little boat to a 30-room party vessel that can comfortably host up to 150 people, complete with its own dedicated massage parlor. And it's at this $25 million level where the actual logistics of living at sea completely change. You absolutely know you've hit a new bracket of wealth when your pizza craving is solved by an Uber helicopter. The source highlights this jaw-dropping moment, where a helicopter literally matches speed with the moving yacht and lands directly on its built-in helipad just to drop off a few pizzas. At this tier, you aren't just attached from land, you are being entirely serviced from the sky. Let's keep going. Section 3, helicopters and mega yachts. Introducing the crew. Now at $50 million, you're no longer just buying a boat, you are acquiring a massive piece of infrastructure. This yacht is over 200 feet long, it's 4 stories high. But honestly, the most significant upgrade here is the human capital. It comes staffed by a 20-person crew. The owner literally walks around with a remote control that summons the staff at the push of a button to anywhere on the ship. And the culinary experience gets a huge upgrade too. There's enough space and luxury to host celebrity guests like Pete Davidson for a 5-star whole lamb dinner right there on the water. Now we're getting into the crazy stuff. Section 4, the 300 million monster. Hyper luxury. I want you to take a second and just process this single number, 69. You would naturally assume a $300 million yacht is the absolute peak of human achievement, right? Like number 1 in the world? Yet this massive, hyper-luxurious vessel is officially only the 69th largest yacht on Earth. It really puts into perspective just how unimaginably deep the pockets of the ultra-wealthy go when a $300 million investment doesn't even crack the global top 50. And the sheer absurdity of the features at this level is just, it's mind-bending. We're talking 9 distinct master bedrooms spread out across 6 floors. There's a state-of-the-art gym overlooking the ocean. Oh, and a movie theater with smart windows that automatically tint themselves black when the film starts. The furniture alone is astonishing, including a dining table valued at $3 million. Think about that. The table costs 3 times more than our first luxury yacht. And, perhaps most incredibly, there is a specialized room on board that serves as a fully functional hair salon, which completely converts into a dentistry suite. So yes, you can literally get a haircut and your teeth cleaned while sailing across the Atlantic. Naturally, the caliber of a vessel like this attracts a certain caliber of guest. The source highlights NFL legend Tom Brady just hanging out on this massive yacht's helipad. Instead of helicopters dropping off pizza, they used the vast, flat expanse of that helipad to play catch, with Brady literally launching footballs to knock drones right out of the sky. It is just the perfect visual representation of the hyper-wealthy lifestyle. I mean, you have world-class athletes using multi-million-dollar maritime engineering as their own personal backyard playground. Which brings us to our grand finale. Section 5, the billion-dollar floating city, redefining the boat. When a vessel eclipses some of the world's most famous monuments in sheer size, you know for a fact we've entered an entirely new paradigm of maritime engineering. $1 billion buys you a ship that is 4 times larger than the massive $300 million monster we just looked at. It is literally larger than 3 statues of Liberty laid end to end. That is just insane. The scale here is absolutely staggering, 10,000. This vessel is 12 feet wide and it towers 17 stories high into the sky. And because of that massive footprint, it is capable of comfortably fitting almost 10,000 people inside. So instead of a handful of master bedrooms, this floating marvel contains over 2,000 individual rooms. At this point, we have entirely left the concept of private ownership in the rearview mirror and entered the territory of mass floating habitation. Let's walk through what a day here actually looks like. You aren't just walking across a deck anymore, you're traveling across 7 distinctly themed neighborhoods. You can go ride massive water slides in the upper deck water park while listening to live music, and then just take an elevator down to go shopping in a full-scale indoor mall. Or head over to the dedicated sports floor to play mini golf or maybe shoot some hoops on a full basketball court. And how do you end your evening? You sit down at the bionic bar where literal robotic arms mix and serve your drinks right from the ceiling. But you know, there is a really fascinating hidden cost to this level of scale. Just look at how the human infrastructure required to keep the vessel moving totally explodes. At $50 million, a modest crew of 20 can handle the ship. Up at $300 million, that jumps to a highly specialized team of over 50 waiting on your every request. But when you hit that $1 billion mark, a small team just isn't going to cut it. You literally require the population of a small town, thousands of specialized staff members, from lifeguards to retail workers to engineers, all just to keep this floating city fully operational. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. We started with a $1 boat that couldn't even keep the ocean out, and we ended with a $1 billion marvel that contains its own weather-controlled ecosystems, robotic bartenders, and distinct neighborhoods for 10,000 citizens. So at what point does human engineering cross the line? When exactly does a vessel stop being a boat and simply become a sovereign country floating on the water? It really makes you wonder what the $2 billion ship of the future is going to look like. Thanks so much for joining me on this incredible journey, and keep asking questions.